You know that moment in a story when you realize the villain might actually be the person you least expected? Well, buckle up, because in Acapulco Season 4, Episode 5, one of the most surprising truths slips quietly into the light, turning an entire investigation upside down and forcing us to ask, what if the real danger was sitting right at the dinner table all along? Let's dive into this roller coaster of secrets, awkward family dinners, and a mentor who refuses to be swayed, because this episode delivers twists like a piñata spilling more than just candy. We open with the kind of warm, nostalgic detail that makes Acapulco such a charmer. Memo, the ever-reliable friend, finishes painting the resort walls back to that classic pink shade everyone remembers. It's Maximo's way of bringing Las Colinas back to life, a bit of its magic from the 1980s bleeding into the present. But just as Maximo is thanking Memo, he notices something. Memo seems worried, holding something back. And when Memo starts telling a story from the past, you know it's going to be a good one. Flashback to 1986. A week after young Maximo and Julia move into their new apartment, Nora, Maximo's mother, wastes no time in doing what mothers do best, interfering. She barges in, laundry in hand, fussing over her son, as if he's still 12 years old. Julia, of course, is not thrilled about the invasion of personal space, and this tension simmers under the surface. Meanwhile, back at Las Colinas, Vera, the owner, drops a bombshell. She's considering selling all the units of the resort. For Maximo, who has been dreaming of restoring Las Colinas to its glory days, this is like hearing someone wants to turn your childhood home into a parking lot. He tries to counter with his grand 18-step plan to make the resort #1 again. But before he can even get to step 2, Chad bursts in with some shocking news. Don Pablo, the legendary figure who once helped build Las Colinas, is actually behind the rival resort El Alma del Mar's success. The revelation hits like a thunderclap. Don Pablo, Maximo's mentor, the man who knew every corner of Las Colinas, is working for the competition. And not just working, he's thriving there. But while this power struggle simmers, we cut to Esteban, who's still obsessing over Juan's mysterious death. He goes as far as creating a fake water bill just to lure Juan's daughter, Dalia, back for questioning. Nora tells him he needs to let it go, but you can tell he's nowhere near done. Back in the apartment, Nora delivers a fruit basket to Julia and Maximo, a small gesture that in Nora's eyes is loving, but in Julia's eyes feels like meddling. Julia tells her outright that Maximo can take care of himself, and Nora leaves offended. Sensing tension, Julia tries to smooth things over by inviting Nora and Esteban for dinner. But Maximo has a bigger play. He wants Don Pablo at that table too. The next scene takes us straight into enemy territory. Chad, Vera, and Maximo visit El Alma del Mar to try and convince Don Pablo to return to Las Colinas. Don Pablo greets them warmly, but when Vera offers him money, he refuses. No amount of cash, he says, will make him step down from his role. He's staying put, and they can take their business elsewhere. Vera, determined, tells Maximo to use his personal history with Don Pablo to persuade him emotionally, but the idea makes Maximo uneasy. Meanwhile, Esteban's investigation takes a turn for the bizarre and hilarious. When Dalia finally visits, Esteban hides a recorder, hoping she'll slip up. Instead, she confidently says she was at a concert when her father died, but then she casually mentions something, a severe peanut allergy. Suddenly, everything clicks in Esteban's head. In one gut-punch moment of realization, he remembers that he and his mother, Doña Rosita, had served Juan Romeritos during a celebration, loaded with peanuts. They hadn't murdered him with malice, but they had killed him by accident. All this time, Esteban had been chasing a killer, only to discover he was the culprit. It's the kind of twist that leaves you staring at the screen with your jaw on the floor. Cut back to the present, and Memo is floored by the revelation. He even jokes that Esteban's storytelling is straight out of an M. Night Shyamalan film, but the ripple effects of this truth are far from over. Back in the past, dinner night arrives. Sarah, quietly thrilled, tells Aida she's been accepted into NYU, but worries about the money. Aida promises to keep the secret, but of course, Doña Rosita overhears. Don Pablo arrives for dinner, and the air is thick with unspoken tension. Nora and Julia can barely hide their dislike for each other's habits, whether it's about fruit baskets or spoiled bananas. Don Pablo, meanwhile, listens as Maximo tries to reason with him, pointing out the cost of holding on to a vendetta. But Don Pablo isn't swayed. He tells Maximo about how Vera discarded him after 4 decades of loyalty. His message is clear. If you want to beat me, do it through merit, not emotional manipulation. Then chaos erupts. As Don Pablo tries to leave, Julia and Nora's bickering gets in Maximo's way. Julia forces him to eat a partially spoiled banana, and he promptly throws up, right in front of everyone. It's a chain reaction of confessions. Sarah blurts out her New York dream, Nora expresses her disapproval, and suddenly the table is a mess of raised voices and raw emotions. The only one not yelling is Esteban, until he collapses. A weight of his secret about Juan's death finally too much to bear. And just like that, the episode closes, leaving us with questions that demand answers. Will Esteban confess what really happened to Juan? Can Maximo ever convince Don Pablo to return to Las Colinas? And with secrets spilling left and right, what new cracks will appear in these relationships before the season ends? So, what do you think? Was Esteban right to keep the truth to himself for now? Or should he have confessed immediately? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive recaps just like this one. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.